change the spacebar on this again. I'm sorry. He sees the OG, the Leslie, Lord have mercy, and then protect the OG, and then the Alec and Oni. Okay. What are we doing? Justice for Bingsu. Shout out poll ended. Okay, what's happening? Why? Thank you for the shout out. Shout out to Tony. A dude with a name. Who is this Tony person? Thank you. Now, after watching you choke yourself with the Altair, I bought it. I use a referral link. Hope they pay you something high quality. Bro, dude, I did so bad with the Altair. I got like fucking 40 words per minute. It was so, I did so poorly. I did so shit. Okay, I think. Okay, I'm changing it to, I'm sorry, but like, neon spacebar is the way. Neon. Okay, I'm gonna put all this away, okay? All right, typing test prediction for our first build. Maybe we need to add like a little layer of like case foam or whatever. Maybe plate foam, I don't know. Oh God, why is it not registering? Oh, there it is. Okay. Prediction. All right, prediction. Start prediction. 121 or more, 121 or less. Okay, there you go. Prediction has started. Why is it a one-on-one? It's such a good match. Put the wrong bracket. Keycap, excuse me. Don't ever speak to me. Adam? Are you even Eve? God said Adam and Eve, not Adam and Geo, okay? She'll read it anytime soon. Well, I'm also preparing for... You're preparing for a trial in June. I forgot! Yes, you're also an attorney. We've got 3 attorneys here. All right, we're gonna take a picture of this because this is bussin'. Look at this. That's our first build, okay? Like 10 to 15 minutes. Oh God. Okay. Hi, bestie. 25 stream streak. Thank you. Hello. Welcome in. How are you, Bretty? I just put hydrate. Whale Kwan is also here. Welcome in, Whale Kwan. How are you? Look at this side. Why is it so bright? Bro, this is like really bright. So this is like, I'm about to fucking ascend to heaven, bro. Actually, who are we kidding? I'm definitely going to hell. If it was real, I would go to hell. Cheese switch time. I actually have my cheese switches soldered. Whale Quant, this is so, I gotta fix this. Why is it so bright? The fuck? ISO, auto, focus mode, continuous, okay. But why is it so, oh God. Maybe like that? Maybe that? My camera is not color accurate. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I can't be everything that you want. What if we did black and white sepia? Style box? Did we just do standard? Is this like better? I don't like it. Why is it so weird when it's auto? It looks like so, like, what the fuck? It used to not be like this. What happened? Maybe like that? Is this okay? Fuck it, whatever. I don't care anymore. Whatever. I don't know anything about fucking... I don't know shit. Okay? Shout out to Whale Kwan. Okay? Hello? Brian, realistically, I should have gone to law school considering studying for LSAT, but I found out how difficult it was to work in law in the music industry. Also, job market, like, looking into the... I think the law market is kind of oversaturated. But also, you know, people be hiring still, you know. So we'll see. We'll see. We're definitely understaffed. My place. We're hiring. I think we need to hire 2 new attorneys. Honestly. Shinhai's on Sonnet. Shinhai's are so good. Shinhai's amazing. Taking over Starfire on the chat. Chat delayed read messages game. Need some foam. 11-minute delay. Hi, friend. Geographically, yes. It's in Europe, but not European unions. Okay. Cannon fodder. What the fuck is cannon fodder? Who's cannon fodder? Soldiers expended in war. Is that me? Studicus, hello, welcome in. Sorry, I was dark. Typical cities, K-pop entries for Europe. 4 cities out of like 50 countries. They can only go so far. XG's not BTS, Bangtan Sonyeondan, okay? They're not friends at EU no more, but they do be, okay, so they're geographically European. So can I call British people Europeans? Will British people get offended if I call them Europeans? Do we have British people here, parasitic relationship? I was actually mentally healthy until I saw your stream and called my therapist. She couldn't confirm. I thought you weren't in therapy anymore, but you should be. You should be. Wow, that's one of those fancy keyboards I keep hearing them about. Corporals are big evil. Dan, this combo is really nice. This is a Stinky Men Artisan. It matches, it is like such a nice match. Like, this Stinky Men Artisan is like, look at this shit. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at this match. I'm bricked up. I actually need to buy like a brick so I can like, every time I say bricked up, I just hold it. Is there like a brick stress toy? Stress toy? Fun rarity brick stress reliever toy. It's only $8.69. I think I need to buy it. I'm gonna buy it. Okay, I'm gonna buy this brick. Paging. Okay, I'm actually buying it right now. Okay, I just bought it. Naktam is here. Welcome in, Matt. Last few seconds to get your typing test predictions in. Last few seconds. Nobody you tested just look at you and be like, yep, that's ADHD. Well, I don't know. Can we confirm? Naktam, hello. Wait, it's not the Altair. This is not the Altair. I no longer have the Altair. Threw it in the trash. I'm just kidding. My health beef noodle, best noodle. Shout out to Naktam. Yes, that was Monday. Yes, Altair was on Monday. Good sir. My good sir. How far behind am I? I'm only 7 minutes behind. Let's see. I got ADHD diagnosis when I was a teenager. I'm ahead of the curve. I'm happy for you. Good for you. Alcyon Days, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry for what you're about to witness. Okay, welcome in. Bloody Asshole Artisan. This is the Bloody Asshole Artisan. Actually, that is actually fucking sick, though. I can put it on the other side. Yeah, that Bloody Asshole Artisan. Anyway, okay. Typing test. This is for our first typing test, okay? All right. Chrome. All right. Monkey type. Here we go. Monkey type is here. Hello, paging. Can everyone hear me? 你可以给我你母亲的牛肉面吗? Maybe. Come over. I'll give you my roe. I'll stick my roe in your mouth. 我把我肉放你嘴巴里. Not like us. Wait, the build done? No, this is our first build. We're gonna do a second build, okay? Okay, don't mind me. Okay. So based off my 10 years of mental health experience, yes, you have ADHD. Thank you for the diagnosis. Thank you. Okay. I don't even know. Hold on. I always forget this part. I gotta actually test if the keys are working. What? I always like... Okay, perfect. It works. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Typing test time. This is the Pavlov from KBD Fans. It is in stock right now. Some of the colors have sold out, so get yours now! Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. This is GMK Villanelle. Okay. Very nice color. It doesn't look nice on the side camera because it's off. I'm so sorry. I can't do anything about it. Well, I can, but I refuse to. Anyway, GMK Villanelle. Green jacket, stock green jacket switches. Spacebar is a neon switch. We have a Stinky Men Villanelle color match artisan. This is FR4 plate. Tadpole mounted. Gotta like tadpole mount it, okay? And what else? No foam. Okay, keep that in mind. Here we go. Whew. Oh my god! It's literally because I injured my hand. I injured my hand. Like, I told you guys, you could check the VOD. I injured my hand because I've been playing with my fidget toys so fucking much my hand is actually fucking injured. Like, it hurts when I type. So that's my excuse.
Violinist_cheered. X1. Not I used all my points on you. I gotta stop trusting your ability. #rigged. Crying face.
You know what?
Crying
This
face.
sounds very top-mounty. Even though it's not top-mounted. It's very stiff. There's like no flex. I would prefer a little bit more flex. I would like to bend it. How do you guys think this sounds? I think this face art sounds nice though after changing it to the neon. Hold on, maybe I need to adjust it a little. At this point, no one gives a fuck about how this keyboard... No, people... If you're watching my stream, you don't care about this keyboard, okay? Because no one ever comments on the keyboard, okay? They don't ask me. Don't take me seriously. Can you take me okay. Okay, anyway, let's do our second build. I hate it. I hate it here. I hate it so much. Board looks nice. I love this song. Asshole Artisan. I'll put the Asshole Artisan. Okay, I'll put the Asshole Artisan. Have you not seen the artisan that she has? My asshole artisan is like right here. Do y'all not see? I literally have 2 assholes here. And then this is also Itachi being gagged. Itachi's literally being gagged right here. My asshole artisans. Not only do I have asshole artisans, I have Belle Delphine, bathwater artisan, and titty artisans. Okay? Don't even. My collection is goated, okay? Have you not seen the artisan she has? Oh my god, the peach one on the top, red one. Sheesh, that was... Prezi is here! Sexy Prezi, hello? Cheer Nine. I used all my points on you. Gotta stop trusting your ability. I'm just gonna... Should I just rip these keycaps off with my fingers? That's okay. These are my switches. I can do whatever, right? That's a natural reaction to things that you don't yet understand and bloody asshole key. I'm scared. Can we keep typing this at 34 over so I can have a safe win? What if I rigged it? We haven't had like a hammer typing test or whatever. And a paralegal. You're a paralegal, Thudicus? You diagnosed me with ADHD. Well, I'm assuming it's because you have mental health issues. As, you know, as everyone who watches my stream does. Okay, guck. J-Rom, hello. Welcome. Thank you for the first time chat. I gotta pay out these people, even though they didn't believe in me. Bye, shut it down. Choose outcome, 121 less. There you go. Payout. What's the payout? What's the payout? Because I saw the believers had it really high. Believers were like 107,000 go to 10 people. Get wrecked, bozos. How dare you believe in me? How dare you have faith in me? Okay? Stop whitewashing my camera. She's a K-pop idol now. I'm whitewashing keyboards. Do we need to start whitewashing keyboards? ISO pale. Oh my god, that one is so funny. ISO pale. Yeah, you fucked with camera, makes it yellow hue, aka Mexico, something last name orange hue. You can hire me. Y'all need paralegals? I think we need like nurse paralegals. Like people who analyze like medical records and stuff. I think we're hiring one. So we'll see. I'll let y'all know if I'm hiring. Me personally, I'll hire you. I need a personal switch. I need a stream assistant. Air Vince is here. Welcome in, Air Vince. How are you? How you doing? How has your week been? You know, my weekend is here, okay? Thank God for the weekend. Thank God for the weekend. I wish you could do this like plateless, you know? When we pull up, you know it's glory hole stream. Thank you. Thank you for using me as a glory hole. Thank you for how would you use this stream as a glory hole though? Throwback to when someone said they were having sex to my stream. That's crazy. Anyway, you have to explain the yeet you. So yeah, that was my answer. Oh, Cannon fodder. No, I've not met her since COVID. What? Who are you talking about? Who? I haven't met her. Oh, your mom. Oh, your mom. You haven't met your mom. Sorry, trigger warning. Mom, trigger warning. I have to say trigger warning mom now for emmephobia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your mom. I'm sorry you were born. Okay. Womp womp. Bricked up. 23% brick. Use chopstick. Welcome in. How are you? Always wash your chopsticks. Okay. Always wash your sticks. Wash it good. Wash your shaft. Okay. Do y'all wash your shafts or your balls? Is it true that guys don't wash their balls? Is that true? It's because it's like touching your balls is like gay. Is that true? Is that true? You're peer reviewed by other 80. I'm peer reviewed. Let's hear it. That guy Starsky is here. I'm actually like not that far behind on chat. Ichigo, let's hear it. We might add a layer of foam. I'm not sure. Okay, we might. Okay. The jury is still out. The judge, jury, and the verdict are out. I'm the judge. I'm the jury. I'm the prosecutor. Okay, I'm everything. The system is rigged against you. Just admit it. Rig. Can we get a shout out to Starsky, the maker of my booba artisans? I need to have the most sus artisans, okay? I'm waiting for Ariella's booba artisan. Okay, I'm still waiting on my booba artisan. You promised me booba artisan. Where is it? Choke? Trying to choke me? Try to choke me or something? Violence against women is not funny. Okay. All right, let's disassemble this. I want to build a PC plate. Maybe a softer plate material, but I still want to tadpole mount it. Okay, is that okay? 把你肉放进我的口. Yes, I will 把我的肉放你口里面. 我把我肉塞你的洞里面，你的洞很大，你的屁眼很大，我把我肉放你的屁眼里。For those who understand what I'm saying, I said I would stick my meat into your butthole. Is that okay? My points in my ears. Air vents, I'm sorry. Bro, I'm getting it. My tummy ache is back. My tummy ache is back, and we'll see if I need a shit. So far, I've been able to hold it in. I've been able to suck my poop back into my holes, because I have important matters to tend to, such as finishing the stream, okay? I'm a woman of my word. Ah, fuck. Okay. How is the stream going? Are you guys enjoying your time here? I hope you're not. I hope you're not enjoying it. Let's try PC play. I don't want to try Alu because this is already like kind of stiff. It's kind of giving top mount. It's giving top mount. It's giving resonance, okay? She's devolving. RIP my ears. Oh god. My finger fucking hurts, I'm telling y'all. What if I double mounted this? I think you can double plate mount this, actually. I actually think you can I think with tadpole, you can double plate mount it. Should we try like 2 plates? I think that might work. That would just be like a thicker plate. Okay, anyway, let me transpose. Let me transpose these tadpoles, okay? My points rigged. Mod Musings payday. Modular Musings, how could you not believe in me? I'm honestly extremely hurt. I'm extremely hurt. 10K in the trash. Hello? Eating good tonight? Nice. Oh, wait. Spacebar sounds clean. You like the spacebar? Thank you for commenting on the keyboard. Okay, thank you for making a comment on the keyboard, you know? Like, as a woman, I just want to be taken seriously as, like, a content creator in this space. Is that okay for me to ask? As a woman, Kajata, I don't know if I said hi to Kajata. Hello, Kajata, with the 1 emo messages. Hello. If we switch everything to emo-only chat, Kajata would still be able to communicate, because that's the only way he communicates. The keyboard is fine. Another burgundy, another groundbreaking, truly groundbreaking keyboard right here. Tadpole mount, never heard of it. Burgundy keyboard, never heard of it, okay? Rufus McPoopus, comments on keyboard, thank you. Can you just type generic comment about keyboard? Sounds, insert auditory descriptive word. Can you insert auditory? I need like AI bot. I need like AI in my chat, honestly. I need like bots in my chat, okay? Well, actually, you're all bots. Raffle, good heavens. Can you say don't even in the sassy way? I always say don't even in a sassy way, okay? Don't. She's lost it. Family-friendly stream. Very family-friendly. I don't even know how I don't even know what I said that prompted that response. Okay. Now we are going to do our second build. Okay, is that okay with y'all that I do a second build? Jeez. Oh, I probably should have put the switches in first. Whatever. Hi, Lydia Zuwabi. Hello, Zuwabi. My stepbrother. How are you doing, my stepbrother? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic, stepbro. What switches should we use? Should we use some like tactiles? Maybe jammies? I don't know. Maybe I kind of want to try these mode tomorrow switches, actually. I think these will sound good. Do we have faith in me? Do we have faith in me? Actually, you guys don't because of how much I fucked up that last typing test, okay? Savage, this is gonna sound amazing. I know it. I know it's gonna sound absolutely poggin. It's gonna sound moggin and poggin. If you're mentally healthy, hear out yourself. Honestly, when people, it's honestly like, I'm not being kidding. I'm not being kidding, Jesus. I'm not kidding. When people tell me that they're not like depressed, I'm like actually jaw on the ground, like shocked. Because like, it's just like everyone I went to high school and college with are depressed. Yeah. When Bread Roll told me she wasn't depressed, I was like, actually like in shock because like, how? Because everyone I know, basically, like everyone I went to college and high school with we're all depressed. It's crazy. Like, how are you out here not depressed? Like, big pharma didn't get you? I am hooked on pharma. Call me, I'm hooked on, you're hooked on phonics. I'm hooked on pharma, okay? I got like 5-1. I got like 12% of that? Holy shit. Zeech, how could you vote against me? White Mountain 2, I did not consent to all my points that have gone to me like God intended. My mother? What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened to Swabi's messages? My mother? How far back are we? Yes, I wash my balls. You do wash your balls. Can you evidence of you washing your balls? Touching your balls? Touching a man's nuts? Kind of gay, I'm just saying. Okay. Liking women is gay because it's feminine. You're like something that's feminine, so that's gay. Okay. Elemental, my therapist, I haven't met her since COVID. Oh, you haven't met her since COVID. I haven't met my egg donor for the past... You were egg donated? You were an egg donated baby? Wait, how did I... What? You met your egg donor. You met like... Wait, your egg... Oh, okay, wait. I thought you said sperm donor. Oh, you're talking about your mother. Okay, I'm confused. I'm sorry. I get eggs and sperms confused, you know? I don't see gender. Anyway, ignore what I just said. I thought you were a sperm donor baby. Okay. What the fuck? I totally washed my balls. That's kind of gay. Who's not washing their balls? People don't wash their balls. People don't even wash their legs. You remember that whole thing about like Ashton Kutcher or like something? He was like, I don't wash my legs. And like, or is it Ashton Kutcher or was it like, okay, it was Ashton Kutcher, Ryan Reynolds, or Ryan Gosling. It's one of those white actors that said they don't wash their legs. I'm pretty sure. Okay, clean balls, best balls. Show me your balls. Show me your balls, okay? Knox just reminds me, not relating, I've never seen his balls. I almost did though. I'm just kidding. Well, we were in the same room doing full body massage. Anyway. Speaking of Knox, he was late to dinner once, just bringing it back up, because he was shaving and exfoliating his head. Where'd y'all hear that touching your balls is gay? I heard it from me, Ducky. I heard it from me. Touching your balls is gay. I heard it. She's like 10 minutes behind. Oh God, I'm so sorry. 21. My butthole is ready. 你屁眼准备好了。我把我屌放你屁眼里。I'm just, well, that was very vulgar. It was very vulgar. What is this? This is not K-pop. I don't want to listen to this. I'm sorry. I want to go back to XG. Okay. Fart or sharp, place your bets. Why are people being timed out by the key circle? Worst mod ever. Can we please, like, honestly, his abuse of power is just getting out of control. Okay. No, nah. 恭喜发财，大肉拿来。Oh my god. Let's see. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. No, no, nah. Yes, do it. Timed out. Why'd y'all time out each other for fucking 10 minutes? What the fuck? 600 seconds? Oops. I downloaded that music video 21. By god, we watched that so many times. That's kind of gay. Watching women repeatedly, kind of gay. Meant to only time out Zuabi. I'm sorry. Brian? Hello, the other Brian. Not violinist, but the other Brian. AKA used to be Mind Explosion, now called Energy Vortex TV. Right? Am I right? Wait, hold up. You're not... Hold on, who are you? Wait, that's not Brian, that's someone else. Oh my god, I thought you were Brian. Energy Vortex, I thought you were someone else. Anyway, I'm sorry. I can't believe the key circle just timed out Energy Vortex, okay? Cannon fodder, I'm AI in your chat. I'm very sorry on behalf of my mods. On behalf of my incompetent mods, like... Where are my competent mods? Okay, I went to pee and brought my phone, aka delay, so I got to listen Don't Even twice. God is great. You went to you peed to my voice. How does that feel? Is it a sexual thing to pee to someone's voice? I feel like that's kind of sexual. Peeing to someone's voice. I have a thing about peeing in front of people and shitting in front of people. Or like you go to the bathroom and your coworker's also there and you're like shitting and you hear them shit too. You know, it's kind of awkward. You know, a little awkward. Okay, plug this in. I think this is gonna sound great. Okay. I think we might need to actually, we threw the foam on the other side. Hold up. Let me grab this foam, actually. Maybe we need a layer of case foam. Potential. Okay, Faith, no one ever. Y'all still believe abusive relationship toxic? Calling me toxic? Wow, that's kind of racist, okay? That's kind of racist, semiphobia. Any criticism of me is racist, okay? I'm perpetually depressed. That's a mood. I'm not as depressed as I used to be, but, you know, there's always the risk. I think this is just like... I think this is press this down, like, really hard. Hold on, let me try screwing this in on, like, a few edges. And we'll try, and let's see. I think it might just be, maybe we need a force break or something, you know? For Bussy. Let me grab a space bar. It's really the space bar, okay? Okay, this sounds, I think this is a lot better. I think the PC plate, because it's very top mount vibes. It's giving top mount. So a little bit of a softer plate material. But again, it's preference. It's your sexual preference, you know? Just like I chose to be gay, you know? How? I didn't know that was an option to be rigged against since the womb. Listen, my mom was definitely depressed when she was a teenager. Let's be, I'm emo but not depressed. You're emo because you want to be depressed, okay? You want to be depressed so bad. You think you're cool. I share your wisdom. Nox, I thought you were depressed. Eat mutton on a stick. What the fuck is mutton? Okay. Let me try to force break this. Look, it's been such a long time since I've like... Usually when I build a board, I'm like... If it sounds not like how I want it to, I'm just like, whatever, fuck it. But, you know, I feel different today. I feel like making content. Is that a fucking crime? Is that a fucking crime or something? Is that okay? Okay, share your wisdom. How are you not depressed? Simple, go to Disneyland? I want to go to Disneyland. I'm going to Disney. Are we going to Disney? Disney. Who's going to Disney at Keeb Life? I'm going to Disney at Keeb Life. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I want to go on a Sunday. I don't want to go on that Monday. Because that means I have to take like multiple days off work and then it's going to be hell when I get back, you know? All right, I'm going to force break this. I'm going to force break. I'm going to add some tape. Look at me fucking actually putting effort in a build. Like, it's kind of crazy. Where is the scissor? I thought I had a scissor. Where's the scissor? Or maybe I don't need a scissor. Let me just do this then. Let me do this. Okay, force Bussy. We're gonna force Bussy this, okay? Oh god. We are not... This is not a great force break. my modding is not great, okay? Please ignore my modding. All right. Putting this. Whoever invented force break, God bless you. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home. What's happening? Share your wisdom. Egg donor in terms of mothers suck, so I don't deserve the mother. You're an egg donor. Sad little terms. Listen, seek God. That's all you need, honey. Ever since I turned to God, I've become less gay. Okay? I'm a man. I'm a male. I'm a he. That's my vibe. Okay? I'm a man. I'm a male. Okay. We're force breaking. We're putting force breaks, okay? We're forcing it to break. We're forcing it to break dance. I'm not putting this on, like, well at all. It looks ugly as fuck. Is that okay? Liking women as a man is gay because they were once sperm in their dad's balls. Exactly. You're saying you like the shit that comes out of your dad's nuts? That's kind of gay and incestual. Like, that's wild. That is crazy, you know? Wash your balls. I think not having wisdom is the key. Bread roll does not have wisdom. She simply does not think, okay? She simply chooses to not think, okay? I think this is the key. I think we fixed whatever kind of pinginess that we have, okay? I think we did it. We did it, Joe. All men were women once. That's why they have nipples. Well, that's why, you know, like, balls have a line down the middle is because it was supposed to be a coochie, if y'all didn't know that. Okay? Males have nipples because of the way the embryo, so all men are trans. I think that's honestly revolutionary. We're all trans. We're all transgender, okay? Well, I'm not transgender. I'm the best looking subscriber from South America. Really? You're your best looking subscriber from South America? Proof? Listen, there's a lot of handsome people in here, okay? I'll be a best potato mod. Should we mod Shoney's? Mod Shoney's? I get FOMO. I don't need to listen to everything you say. Bring foot to this. I need to listen to everything you say. I chugged a liter of water. Oh my god, XG is playing at the same time as this. Oh god. Okay. All right, I think this fixes our issue. Actually, I think we still need foam. Okay, I lied. I think it fixed a little bit of it, but I think we still need a little bit of foam. It just sounds... Maybe if we omit this screw... It's just too tight. You know, it's tight like a toiga. No face, no case. Hello. Yes, officer. This man right here. Thank you for the follow. Okay, I think let's add a layer of foam. Is that okay? Is that okay if I add foam? I'm sorry if you're homophobic. Okay. Let's see. What if you talk to me when I'm gone? I would never know. You think I'm annoying? Damaging our deep relationship? How we wouldn't want to damage our parasocial relationship, okay? Someone timing out mutton is a horse. A mutton is a horse? I thought mutton was a lamb. What? No sheep? Can we downgrade the keystone VIP make me mod since he deleted my message? Should I do that? I kind of want to bully him. It's been a while since I bullied him. How can we make him depressed? Even more depressed than he is. He's on the ledge. Only difference is our age. Lamb is different from sheep. Mutton is an older sheep. I thought muttons were lambs. What? Lamb is younger sheep. What? I thought, what? Muttons are older sheep? That is crazy. I feel like that's like some fucking life-changing information that I just learned. What? Okay. All right, we're putting this in. We're putting this in, okay? We're doing it. And if you have a problem, you can call my mom, okay? You have a problem? Call me. Call 877 cash now. Okay, where are we? Olsen, mutton is mature sheep, meaning it's between the ages of... I have never... No one fucking calls... Wait, so sheep is the same as a lamb? Okay, this is confusing. This is really confusing. Can you guys stop confusing me? I'm honestly, this is offensive. Are you so mature for your age? Me to meet grooming some sheep? What the fuck? Let's pop each other's cherries. Is the corn about to explode? Hello. Dude, I'm literally about to bust though. Like, I've been wanting to like poop for the entire day and I haven't, and my tummy is not feeling good. I got a tummy ache. Shout out to Exploding Corn. Hopefully I'll explode some corns, okay? Disney cherries, obviously. Oh, well then. Every month you try to mod Shoney's and every time he says no, but then he starts saying he wants to... It's not every month. It's every fucking... It's almost every It's like every fucking week I ask Shoney's if he wants to be a mod, and then I never mod him. I like teasing him. It's fun. All right. I think let's just do this. I think it fixed some of it. But I did force break and I added a layer of case foam. Okay? Force break with case foam. If you have a problem, then you can report me to the authorities, okay? All right. We have these 4 keycaps. We have these 4 keycaps, okay? Oh god, my desk is a mess. My desk is a mess. My desk is a mess. Okay, let's vote on keycaps, and then I need to do push-ups, okay? Part? What the fuck is part? Temporary leave chat. What is that? Pin? What am I doing? Poll. Right, poll. Let's do poll. Okay, caps. Bordeaux. Yuru. Bingsu. What other ones? I'm not using Parashorka because I don't understand it, okay? What else can we add? Is there other sets? Pelican, cookies and cream. I don't think there are other sets that would like really fit this. Maybe PVD fans. Oh, maybe these 2. We could try these 2. So this is oh, Bostafari. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hello. Roostery is here. Hello. We could try these, okay? PBD fans crosshair. So I'll put that as an option. Okay? And then we also have these keycaps, the HSA keycaps, okay? The HSA, oh god. Oh god. HSA. Also, we also have these keycaps. I think those would look kind of sick. It kind of looks like it kind of matches the switches too. So I'll do these 2 as an option, okay? Is that okay? Is that okay as an option? Is that okay as an option? Okay, there you go. Say like bubblegum. Okay, I'm like really fucking thirsty and I need to do push-ups and okay. Oh god. Okay, let me do this. Bingsu PPT fans crosshair. And then what the fuck is this? HSA. Oh god, what is this? Oh god. What is this called? Eccentric. It's called HSA eccentric. There you go. Eccentric. So quirky. HSA eccentric. Okay? 3 minutes for poll. Think being dumb is the key. Smarter people are actually more prone to depression. I used to be like think a lot about life. That's very true. I used to be very like existential and like think about life and stuff. And now I don't. My personality's changed. Like I went from INTJ to ISTP. It's like, phew, phew. I'm not out here caring. Chwar is the only lamb I care about. Randy understands me. Hello, culture. Okay, push-up time. Push-up time. Oh. Okay. Oh. All right. Okay. Here we go. I be farting. Daro means big me. Easy to understand. Drink. Yes, I do need to drink water. I need to hydrate. Let me hydrate. Sheesh. Remember push-ups? Same brain cell? For real? She just like me for real. Oh my god. Led Zepp. Darling Coco Goat. I don't have Led Zepp. Darling? I don't know if Darling would look good on this. This is like... This is like kind of dark for Darling. I don't know. I don't know if Darling will look good on this. Darling, my darling. Perestroika, come on, Lydia. Dude, I like how you spelled my name the Russian way, too. There was a Lydia that I knew in middle school, and she's Russian, and that's how she spelled Lydia, L-I-D-I-A. And you even mentioned Perestroika. Really leaning into it. You gotta lean into it. Perestroika or Riot, excuse me. Crosshair, go to, all right, which is winning? HSA Eccentric is winning. Okay, HSA Eccentric is winning. PBD fans, Bordeaux, Yuru, and Bingsu, by the way. Get your votes in. So this is what Bordeaux looks like. This is the color match for Bordeaux. It's pretty on point. This is the color match for Yuru. That's what Yuru looks like. Okay. And then this is the color match for Bingsu. Bingsu right here. Bingsu honestly matches really well too. So get your votes in. Get your votes in, okay? There you go. Eccentric. Crosshair is just like Wob, basically, with a little bit of red, okay? Let's run! Perestroika, Riot, oh god, what's happening? Wait, where'd it go? Okay, let's see, flexing, yeah, I do that. I redeem hydrate. I need to drink more hydrate, thank you. HSA Eccentric has won! Okay. Let's do HSA Eccentric, okay? I hope this sounds good. If it sounds bad, it's your fault, okay? Let's see. All right. Well, this is gonna be easy because all the keycaps are already arranged. Okay. All right, here we go. Here we go. We're doing it. It's happening. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. You're allowed to drink without someone redeeming it. Well, I forget to drink water. Is that okay? Is it okay that I forget to drink water? Okay, I can't believe I have to mother Lydia. You do have to mother me. I'm actually extremely mothered by my own mother. You know, I'm very mothered. Okay, we're mother. Okay, mother. HSA is the morally correct choice here. I'm actually pretty shocked that HSA won. Let's see. I'm INTJ. Rest in peace. Oh, oh, butt spot. Yeah, 2 butt spots. Speaking of which, I'm cleaning out my closet, tried on some old pants, and booty was popping. Thanks, that's all. Well, do you work out? I think you said last time that you don't really work out. Is that correct? I work out. Do you work out? Okay, I love this. I love this color. This one. This is kind of sick. This is kind of bussin'. This kind of sounds bussin'. I was a little worried. Because I think we used an HSA set on the Theka, but I think it might have just been the Theka that sounded not, you know, wonderful. Well, you know, that's preference. I didn't really like the sound, okay? I'm just being honest. I'm being honest about my opinions, okay? Look at me. You know, I speak the truth, okay? No, I don't. It's my opinion. Oh shit, arf, that's what I'm gonna say. Great as a skewer bar. Perestroika won, Lydia, go get it. Stop taking her minds against HSA. Fake news, don't listen to these haters. Listening to haters here. Perestroika or we riot. When we riot, excuse me, we just did Villanelle, which is basically the same as Perestroika, okay? Villanelle, Perestroika, okay, also Maroon, rest in peace Maroon. I actually did want that set. I actually did want my Maroon, but you know what? Sometimes you can't get everything you want in life, and sometimes we learn those lessons through keyboard vendors whose exit scam, okay? Let's see, Riot, it's gonna be a fucking... This actually sounds pretty bussin', I'm not gonna lie. This kind of sounds bussin'. This kind of sounds bussin', you know? It's happening, everyone stay calm, it's fucking coming down. It says find my daughter, Muva? What the fuck is Muva? Huh? What the fuck is Muva? What? Yes, my daughter, it's fine. What? Muva? What the fuck is a Muva? Huh? I'm actually sad this set doesn't come with HSA straight hyperfuse. XT chicken. Is this the actual trade that it's gonna come with? Oh my god, remember the other set, the other HSA set they have, they messed up. Remember they messed up this? Oh, thank you for the prediction. Thank you, thank you. Let's see. I think it's mostly... Wait. Mova. Wait, where am I? No, it's mostly genetics, TBH. I work out a tiny bit, little bit at home, dance music every day. I worked out every day last year, but you imagine genetics just naturally giving you a butt. Like, I'm so jealous. My ass is so flat, bro. My ass be flat. I'm built like Plankton. If you've seen Plankton's ass, that's how I'm built, okay? If you're into Plankton, then like hit me up, you know? Okay. What are we doing? Where's the shift? Where's the baby shift? Where is the baby shift? We need to... Oh, baby shift is here. I call this the baby shift. Is that okay? Let's see. Up. Should this go here? Maybe... so delete should go here. Page up. I don't know these. Up, down. Up, down, and then FN maybe goes down here. I hope this is the right layout. Page up. Okay, no, I think up is this one, is it? Up. Down. Okay, now we got it, okay. Maroon is at Vala, isn't it? Yeah, so it is, but I bought it through, unfortunately, I bought it through My Keyboard EU, who is gone. They deleted their entire Discord server, if y'all didn't know. They also shut down their website. So it's gone. So at this point, you know, I'm not getting my money back. Unfortunate for me, you know, I deserve to get scammed. This is what I get for not turning to God, you know. This is God punishing me. So Kimberly BB did that song. It's such a good song. She's iconic. She's an icon. Google says Mova is mother. It's gay, not privileged. It's Meva. It's gay. Are you gay? Use chopstick. Are you gay? Meva, gay. I'm gonna look this up. Gay Meva. Watch gay booty femme. What the fuck is this? Watch gay big booty femme. Femboy Sua Meva. For those that don't know, Sua Meva actually says he's not transgender. He's in a lot of videos. What is this? What the fuck is that? I'm not seeing anything about Meva being gay. It's Meva. Got some ass gived away. Yo, Plankton Meva? Sorry to the gay community. What happened to the gay community? I'm not a part of it. I am not a part of the gay community, actually. I am actually very far apart from the gay community. Look at this. What an interesting, you know, little concept that we have here. What an interesting concept, you know? Y'all like it? It's so shiny. This sounds way better than our first build. The power of HSA. Can I see? I got some ass to give away. Can you prove it? Whatever you like. I'm laughing so hard right now. What is this Mava thing? I literally have no idea. Euro L. Sympathies to Euro. Is it a European gay slang? I literally am looking at Mava and I don't know what the fuck that is. I feel like you're trolling me. Are you trolling me? Mava meaning mother. I'm from the East Coast out here and Mava means mother. What does Mava mean? Mother bitch. I literally don't know what that means. What even is a stream anymore? Yat, I'm so straight. Never kissed a woman before. Fake news. That's yeah. Look at the shine. Oh damn! Look at that. Sheesh! Look at that such. Oh my god, this song makes me want to hoe out. Gotcha. Oh yeah, look at that shine. Yes. Sheesh! Oh my god, this song makes me want to be a hoe. Da-da-da, toucha, kiss ya. I know gay mother. What's this? Me? Mother. I love him. Anyway, okay. Let's do typing test. Let's do typing test. She? Okay, we're caught up on chat. We're caught up on chat. Isn't that amazing? Please clap. Please clap. We're caught up on chat. Please clap. Okay. Look at this. Dude, that shine is crazy. That shine is crazy. Okay. Typing test time. Typing test time. Clap. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the clap. Caught up. Officially caught up. Okay. This is our last build of the night. Our last build ever. Okay. I still don't know. Can you please explain to me what Mava means? I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I don't understand. Please, I'm begging you. What the fuck is this? Mava is a term coined by E.H. Ackerman, 1954, folded supercrustal shallow water succession of quartzites and pellites in the erudimite belt of Zambia. That's what it says. Okay, anyway. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here it's happening. It's happening. It sounds a lot better than before. Okay, so this is the Pavlov. We have HSA eccentric on it. Very shiny. From those of you who don't know, it's called half SA. Very shiny. Okay. We have a PC plate, tadpole mounted. We have mode tomorrow switches, which actually I think are underrated switches. I really like them. Mode tomorrow switches, HSA keycaps, PC plate. We have a layer of case foam. And we also did force break mod on it, okay? Here we go. Fuck! Are you... What the fuck? What the... What the fuck? 120? I'm gonna vomit. I'm gonna vomit. 119 and 120. I'm about to lose my shit. Wait. Okay, let me just read it. I understand it's, but like, I think it's literally because I injured my hand. Like, you need to take into account my injury, you know? It's like athletes, you know? You have to take into account their injury when assessing their performance, you know? Okay, this is even worse. I'm not gonna try anymore. Look at all the grease coming off my fingers. What grease? Greased up. You gotta grease it. Yeah, I gotta like wipe my like hand, my face oil, and like gotta really grease it. I'm less than 1K. I'm sorry, I just yelled into. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, bro. It literally is my hand injury. This sounds a lot better than our first build. It still is like kind of pingy on this side though. But you know what? CS70! I'm really sorry to all the people who believed in me. Avo is here. Avo literally just comes in to come bully me. We don't care, okay? I want to wipe this off now because this is actually nasty. Baby, don't you think too much? But if I touch ya, kiss ya, want ya, and about it. What the fuck? Nox just sent me a fucking gift. Give away something. Oh, it's been a minute. Oh, we gotta give away something. I got switches. I got switches. Let's give away a set of switches. Okay, I have so many switches. Please take it from me. Please fucking take it from me. All right, let's open up Steam. It's been a minute since we've given away something. Okay. Now I want you with a single touch, boy. And now you done it, Johnny, on a sunny soup, so when I touch ya, kiss ya. Can you give me away? Okay, I can do that. Baby, don't you think too much? Look at this. Beautiful, beautiful. 40K is so far away. Saving up for a singular hat redeem. Listen. You play big, you lose big, okay? Listen, all right. Marbles time. Marbles, it has been 1 fucking minute, okay? Novel keys keycap. Oh, actually, I do kind of want to give away the key. Do y'all want keycaps or switches? Do y'all want novel keys keycaps or switches? What is GRT for trusting you? This is what GRT, get what's a fucking minute? What? NK caps? I was supposed to do a giveaway and I hit 500. Do you want to do the giveaway now? Do you want to co-give away something? NK caps. Okay, Avo said, okay, we're doing NK caps. Okay, 2 votes for NK caps. 1 vote for switches. Okay, we have 3 votes. I think that's a fair sample size. We're going to give away novel keys caps, okay? And you get to pick. So we have 3 left, okay? Oh, fuck. Winner gets to pick. MKPBT kind of tasty. Okay, we have Ember, Blossom, and Stone. Okay, democracy fails again. You need to explain to me what the fuck Mova is. Use chopstick. What the fuck is that? I can't afford to steal shit. Something. Stone is modern materials. Actually, so true. We have Stone. I love modern materials. Mod Musings and Mod Musings collab. Okay, so we have Stone. Okay, all right. So Ember, Blossom, Stone. Okay, there you go. There it is. We're picking Royale because I want to see y'all fight. Slam against each other. Okay, slamming. Launch. Launch your nuts into my mouth. We're going to do this one, okay? Here we go. It's happening. What's up, guys? It's me, the Key Circle, back with another video. I explained above, Mova is the East Coast. What? Oh! Bro, I thought... Okay. Me? Okay, I thought it was something else. Cause I got that, so I had the correct one. Okay, I love this song too. Fucking Taeyeon is mother, okay? I'm gonna play 2. If I win 11th, no, if I win 15th place, wait, actually, I don't know if this is even win. If I win, then 15th place gets it. Okay, slamming pelvises together, slamming. We're slamming holes against each other. Nitram is here. Hello. Ben is also here. Welcome in. Holy Monka. Hello. Kiris is also here. Shout out to Kiris, the color queen. Melanie is also here. Welcome in. Hello. All right, we got 88 seconds, okay? Rice Pixar, welcome in. You were so confused. Yes, I was very confused, okay? If you win, you need to give 5K points to everyone. When you lick the points. Gnome of Death, hello, my silent supporter. My silent supporter is here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Exclamation play. We have 1 minute for these keycaps. I'm a loud supporter. Yes, you are. Sometimes in chat, all I see is you and Insty just going at it. Y'all are just going at it. Nana is like, will she shut the fuck up? Honestly, it is. I'm a lewd supporter. You're a Trump supporter. I'm just kidding. No. Okay. 46 seconds. What is this? Insty sucks. Channel 1 added by Avo. Better yap session than dead chat. I know. Dead chat. All right. 29 seconds. Wait a minute while I make you mine, and energy and honey on my mind. All the the time I want to tell you, but I'm super shy. Super shy. I'm super shy, but wait a minute while I make you mine. Make you mine. A minute, cheating on my mind. All the time I want to tell you, but I'm super shy. All right, can we go? 5, 4, 3, 2. I wish I could burn all my calories. I wish I could burn that many calories, okay? Listen, what are your secrets? Stalkers hate her. I'm super shy, but wait a minute while you don't even... Dun, dun. Can I go under? Oh, I can go under. What's this? What's this under here? Why did... Can I go through here? Can I not? Why is it like that? Oh, there's actually holes. You can like fall through the holes. On my mind all the time, I want to tell you, but I'm super shy. Super shy. Oh, I can just keep zooming out. But wait a minute while I make you mine, make you mine. Parasitic relation, parasocial or parasitic? Mutually parasitic. This entire stream is fueled by spite. Nine hates us. I'm streaming out of spite for you, okay? Streaming out of pure spite. Super shy, but Geo, it's too late. You missed it. Parasocial is parasitic. I want to tell you, but I'm super shy. Super shy. He wants some NK. Who dropped? Who dropped? Oh god, I'm lost. We got a Thompson situation. There's a black hole. Insty's asshole is sucking everything in. There's actually 2 centers of gravity in the universe. It's the sun and Insty's asshole. I'm slandering him even though he's not here. Okay, who's gonna win? Bread Roll is in the lead. Ain't nar way. Ain't nar way. Who's gonna win? Exploding Corn, Ancilla, and Bread Roll. Oh, Bread Roll, rest in peace. Right now, Exploding Corn and not your Ancilla. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna be exploding? Ancilla wins! Ancilla! Ancilla! Do you clam? Do you clam your Switch, your keycaps? I know you're in Europe, so I understand if it's too expensive. Clam! Congratulations, Ancilla! Which one do you want? Stone, Blossom, or Ember? Blossom is like pink and purple. Huge glam, absolutely huge, the largest glam ever. I would take Stone or Blossom if I were you. Not gonna lie, not gonna lie. Stone is basically modern materials. Blossom is just pink, huge, absolutely huge. I take your stones, excuse me, whispered, Nox, Cox, Cumbros, whispering. Literally just woke up, I have no idea what's going on. Okay, just decide which one you want. There's 3 options. Are there clips of Nine yeeting the balls off the board? Oh, that was so funny. I'm so funny, I'm so hilarious. That is who. Congratulations, Ancilla. Again, this is the Pavlov by KBD fans. You can see, very shiny. Okay, you want to pick a random cat? Look at this, Pavlov in the back. Okay, starts at $199. Okay, currently in stock at kbdfans.com. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. I'm actually not ad or sponsored. Well, hashtag ad. Hashtag ad, okay. Let's see, okay. Anyway, yes, should we look at this? Huge, absolutely huge, tremendous. Okay, the deja vu. Okay, I'm gonna be taking pictures of this, okay? Again, Pavlov, you know, limited in stock. This is the anodized burgundy one, okay? This one is broken in with the foam, okay? Look at this, lovely, 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 beautiful gowns, lovely gowns. Okay, check it out, we love to see it. Frankly, nobody has ever sent a huge glam. It's tremendous, really. Take a look at this glam and say, well, that's a big glam. What's the Batman one? What the fuck? This one? Is this silver top? Is this one Batman? What are you talking about? Okay, we're done with stream. Get the fuck out of here, okay? We're done. Dark Knight, what? What are you talking about? Oh, this one is just black. But they call it Dark Knight. They call it Dark Knight. Very fascinating, you know? What's the difference? What is the difference? Literally, what? Black and Dark Knight. Oh, I think Dark Knight has a... gray top, black and a different kind of black. Okay, I don't fucking know. Make your decision yourself. Good stream. See you next Friday. Yes, you guys. I will not be streaming on Monday. I will be taking personal time off to whack my pee-pee very, very hard until it flies into the moon. Okay. I will be streaming next Thursday again at 6:30. I will be building a K from Mummy. That said Mummy. Hot. Monday's gonna be a sad day. You know, sad day for America. Yes, wash your balls, please. Please watch your nuts. Watch. Oh my god, I said watch your nuts. Don't actually watch your nuts because you wanna feel it for prostate cancer and stuff. Anyway, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what it means to have cancer, or I mean balls. Okay. Anyway, someone stream during. Can someone please stream as well? Okay. I'm gonna be sad on Monday. Depression. Love you, Nine. Thank you all so much for being here. Who is on right now? Oh my god, listen, we gotta raid Keeb Noob. Let's raid Keeb Noob. Keeb Noob, Ellie is a homie. Let's raid Keeb Noob. What's up? Or actually, you know, what up? Ellie always says, what up? Bye-bye, Nine. Thank you all so much for being here. If you guys enjoyed this stream, hopefully it's lovely, lovely shit, you know, absolutely beautiful. What up? Okay, this is gonna be our raid message. I hope Ellie gets the reference, because Ellie always says that, okay? Thank you, Lordia. Thank you, Clownfish. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Manic. Thank you, Exploding Corn. Thank you, Kiris. Thank you, Starsky. Thank you, Liam. Thank you, Asshole. Thank you, Ichigo. Thank you, Breadroll. No thank you to Avo. Absolutely no thank you. Thank you, Clownfish. Thank you, Starsky. Absolutely no thank you, okay? Okay, I'm gonna try to go shit, okay, out of my holes. Okay, thank you all so much for the follows. Thank you, Manic, for the raid. What up? Okay, enjoy Ellie's stream. Ellie's a homie. Factory. I'm smarter, baby, smarter. Smarter. Okay, let's stream. All right. See you guys next Thursday. I'm gonna miss you guys so much. I'm gonna cry and vomit and shit into a cup and sell it.